There's a sound every wrestler lives for. It's not the bell, not the 3 count, not even the music that hits when their name lights up the arena. It's the crowd, the roar, that wave of human electricity that tells you matter, that you've arrived, that they love you. But what happens when that roar changes? When the same crowd that once chanted your name now chants for your failure? It doesn't come all at once. It starts with a few boos, harmless, maybe even ironic, but soon they grow louder than the cheers. The signs in the crowd change. So do the tweets. The laughter now carries an edge. The applause turns hollow. You're still the same performer, still giving everything, but something's shifted and you don't know how to fix it. You've become the villain in your own hero's journey, said goodbye to normal. You finally reach the top, arms raised, bathed in spotlight, and the audience turns. Not because you cheated. Every word you speak becomes ammo, every gesture overanalyzed. You're a puppet. You're a corporate stooge. You're not their guy anymore. Not because you changed, but because they got bored, or bitter, or decided someone else deserved your place. Ask the ones who smiled through gritted teeth, giving the promo they were told to deliver, knowing full well the crowd was ready to tear them apart. There's no loyalty, no cushion, no exit ramp. One day you're loved, the next you're a meme. This is the hidden nightmare of being the face in WWE, the good guy, the chosen one, the babyface built to be loved, because unlike movies and wrestling, the script isn't final until the audience agrees. Not until you're standing in the center of the ring, looking out at 20,000 faces and realizing not a single one is on your side. And when they don't, when they revolt, no rewrite can save you. It's a special kind of pain to be handed the torch and feel it burn. Ask the ones who were pushed to soon die too hard. Ask the ones who followed legends and got blamed for not being them. Because it's not just the boos, it's the betrayal. You're just a body in a ring, chasing ghosts. Every era of wrestling has its chosen ones. You trained your whole life, broke bones, missed weddings. They chant boring after your finisher. They hijack your promos. They laugh at your passion and call it fake. And the worst part, you're still expected to smile. They don't just perform, they represent. Company champions molded by boardrooms, handed scripts, merchandise deals, and main event slots. Not slowly, not gently, but with venom, with fire, with chants that echo through arenas like war cries. They know when someone's rise isn't organic. They know when they're being told to cheer, instead of wanting to, still expected to be grateful. The ones told to be likable, but not too edgy, confident, but never threatening, funny, but safe, charismatic, but controllable. Not necessarily against the performer, but against what they represent. The system, the agenda, the manipulation, the idea that WWE can choose for them. Still expected to carry the company on your back while pretending not to feel the weight of the betrayal. Think of Roman Reigns, booed out of buildings despite being one of the most gifted athletes of his generation. Think of John Cena, whose run as the squeaky clean face was met with deafening Cena sucks chants every Monday night. Louder music, bigger spots, more promos, until a cheerleader becomes a target, until a pop turns into poison, until a hero starts to hate the mirror because the reflection doesn't match what the audience screams. More merch, as if volume could silence the rejection, with scars, with storylines that weren't written in creative meetings, but forged through real setbacks, real struggle, and raw connection. In WWE, being a face means being everything the fans want, until the moment they decide they want something else. And no one warns you, not until it's too late. The lights are still bright, the music still plays, but something's missing. The roar, the real one, and without it, the golden boys, the torch bearers, the names that sit on posters, smile in morning talk shows, and close out WrestleMania. The slow souring, the moment when the cheers start to feel forced, and the boos feel like prophecy. Because once it begins, there's no unringing that bell. But here is the truth no one wants to admit. The crowd doesn't care who deserves it. They care who feels real, and when they sense that someone is being manufactured, pushed instead of earned, they turn. Wrestling isn't like any other performance art. It lives and dies by crowd energy, and the modern audience, they're smart, smarter than ever. That's why the system creates its own rebellion. For every handpicked hero, there's a Daniel Bryan, someone the company overlooked, underestimated, or outright dismissed, who won the crowd not with polish, but with pain. And when those underdogs rise, the crowd feels it, because they see themselves in it. Now compare that to the carefully sculpted baby faces, all smiles, catchphrases, and camera-ready speeches. It's a lose-lose game, because the second the crowd smells manufacture, they push back. It's not fair, but it's real. Just look back. Think of Lex Luger, paraded on a red, white, and blue bus, handed a push and rejected. In all these cases, the company didn't listen. They doubled down. A rejection isn't noise. It's a message. And when it's ignored, it grows louder. This is the emotional rot beneath the surface. To be a WWE face is to live in fear of the shift, not when the crowd has decided you're not theirs. You're the company's, and in their eyes, that makes you the enemy. He wasn't supposed to fall. He was the guy, the chosen one, the perfect blend of indie credibility and corporate polish. A wrestler who had clawed through Ring of Honor wars and NXT battles, now handed the crown in WWE's Grand Kingdom. And for a moment, it looked like Seth Rollins had it all. But perfection doesn't protect you from perception. And in wrestling, perception is reality. One day he was the architect, sharp, driven, respected. The next, he was a meme, a mouthpiece, a corporate soldier swinging wildly at shadows on Twitter and getting outshined by the very underdogs he once walked beside. Rollins' journey is a masterclass in how quickly the crowd can shift. His descent wasn't about one match. It was about a feeling. It started subtly. The cheers became mixed. The energy felt off. And then came the cracks. Fans began to question, why does he feel so scripted? Why does every promo sound like a mission statement? Why does he seem like he's trying so hard to be liked, to be respected, to be right? Because that's the trap. When your position is the face, you don't just have to win matches. Even his incredible matches were met with silence, or worse, disinterest. Because in the eyes of the crowd, he had chosen the wrong side. You have to win the internet. You have to defend the company in interviews. A growing distance between the man and the myth, between who he was and what they believe he had become. Argue with critics, respond to trolls. And Rollins did, with fire, passion, and just enough smugness to make fans turn. He became the voice of the machine. The one telling everyone that WWE was fine, that criticisms were invalid, that everything was best in the world, even when fans knew it wasn't. The louder he defended it, the more people distanced themselves from him. Suddenly, his victories felt hollow. His promos felt hollow. You can't scream back at the crowd that you're trying, that you're human, that you bleed when they boo. He had chosen them, the suits, the system, the status quo. There's a rule in wrestling that no one teaches. You just learn it the hard way, and the punishment was brutal. Online mockery, arena-wide indifference. His Twitter replies filled with ridicule. People who once saw him as a symbol of change now saw him as a symbol of compromise. Because being the face is supposed to be about connection, about emotion, about giving fans something to believe in. But the moment it feels like you're asking for it, like you need it, it turns sour. He hadn't lost his skill. He had lost his connection. There was no heel turn, no chair shot, no betrayal. The wrestler who stares a second too long into the camera, hoping that pop will come back, hoping the magic still lives in the building. Just a slow drift. When you're the top face, you don't just hold a title. And when that product gets stale, they look for the next one. You hold expectations. Be marketable, be motivational, be the hero kids can dress up as. Say the right things, smile on cue, never break, never tweet the wrong opinion, never feel too real. They do the job, cash the check, and go home quietly, knowing the crowd they once lived for has moved on. And through it all, he kept smiling. Try to prove they're still loved, even as the boos get louder in the arena. You don't just lose popularity, you lose your purpose. Kept tweeting. They're told to connect with fans, but punished when that connection becomes unpredictable. They're told to chase authenticity in an industry built on illusion. Kept delivering promos that felt more like PR than pain. Because what choice did he have? To Raw, and they're unstable. When you're the face, you can't lash out. You can't show weakness. You perform a version of yourself that fits what the company wants, and in doing so, you slowly disconnect from the version the fans once fell in love with. You become corporate, sanitized, predictable. Seth Rollins didn't fall because he was fake. He fell because in wrestling, trying hard to be loved can make you look desperate. And desperate is the one thing a hero can never be. The more you want the crowd to love you, the less they do. It's a brutal paradox. Faces are supposed to be fearless, but desperation has a scent, and the audience can smell it. They see the extra smile, the over-rehearsed catchphrase, the forced crowd work. But magic can't be begged for. And in WWE, popularity is currency. Because real is messy, and messy doesn't sell. So what do you become? You start to filter yourself, and predictability is death. The crowd turns not because you failed, but because you stop surprising them. You're no longer the underdog, no longer the spark. You're the product. It's a cycle that breaks people. Some double down. They become louder, more exaggerated, more fake, hoping it masks the disconnect. Others fall silent. The saddest ones, they fight the loudest. They argue online, post photos with fans, retweet compliments, because this isn't just business, it's personal. When you've built your identity around being the good guy, being rejected hurts. That's the trap. Wrestlers are told to be themselves, but only if that version of themselves fits the script. And so they walk the tightrope, to humble, and they're weak, to confident, and they're arrogant, to polished, and they're fake. There is no right answer, just a performance every night, every promo, every tweet, in front of an audience that changes its mind faster than the company can pivot. In the end, the modern face isn't a hero. He's a hostage, smiling under the lights, while wondering what version of himself the crowd wants this week. For some, the fall is just the beginning, because after the boos, after the silence, after the spotlight dims, there's a choice. You either evolve or disappear. Redemption in WWE is never handed out. It's fought for, often in silence, often in pain. The face who falls has to pause, bend or break, reinvent or rot. We've seen both. Roman Reigns spent years being forced down the audience's throat. He was booed mercilessly not for what he did, but for what he represented. The next Cena, the next chosen one, a superstar without struggle. Some wrestlers take the hate and wear it like armor. And then he stopped pretending. He became cold, calculating, cruel. He became the tribal chief. And for the first time, fans believed him, because for the first time, he wasn't performing what they wanted. He leaned into the resentment, dropped the catchphrases, stopped trying to be the smiling warrior. He was performing who he was. They chased the roar through forced face turns, stale rivalries, hollow comebacks, but the audience never forgets when they turned, and they rarely forgive. That's the paradox. Sometimes the only way to be loved again is to stop asking for it. They walk through the curtain, perform the same moves, cut the same promos, but the magic's gone. Other times, the fall is permanent. Wrestlers who were once beloved try to recapture the spark, only to fade into the mid-card. It requires an ego death, a risk, a new direction that might alienate more people before it wins them back. Because when the crowd moves on, they don't look back. They crown new heroes, new voices, new names to chant, and the ones left behind are haunted by what used to be. They want someone who stands in the ring and owns the hatred. Someone who says, yeah, you turn on me, but I'm still here, and they know it. The redemption arc only works if the performer is willing to let go of the expectations, the company's vision, the fans' fickle praise. Few have the courage. Fewer have the creative freedom. They fade away with bitterness on their tongue and the echo of lost cheers in their head. But the version that hurts, that bleeds, that reflects the pain of rejection and uses it as fuel. Those who do, they find themselves again. Not the version built in boardrooms, not the face plastered on lunchboxes. And the crowd, they respond. Because at their core, wrestling fans don't want perfection. The lights still flash. The audience still erupts. A familiar piece in a machine that no longer needs you to be special. Your background noise to a spectacle that once centered on your rise. But something's off. They want truth. They want pain, flaws, anger, honesty. That's the road to redemption. Not everyone takes it. Some choose resentment instead, blaming the fans, the system, the narrative. But the few who embrace the fire, they don't just come back. They sting, but they're real. They tell you the crowd feels something, that you still matter enough to provoke them. But polite cheers, applause out of habit, just a little less loud, a little less often, until one day, you don't hear them at all. They come back different, stronger, sharper, realer, not faces, not heels, just survivors. There's a moment in every top performer's career when they realize the noise doesn't mean what it used to people who forgot them by next Monday night, and looking into thousands of faces who are smiling but not connecting. They're clapping because that's what they're supposed to do. To be a top face in WWE is to live with an invisible clock above your head, ticking down to the moment when the crowd decides you're done. Because they remember a time when they loved you, not because they still do. The music still hits. The cheer isn't for you anymore. It's for the memory of who you used to be. Or worse, for the show itself. You're just part of the package. That's the pain no one prepares you for. Because in wrestling, no one tells you how loud indifference can be. Boos are at least honest. That's worse. That's death in disguise. Imagine standing in the center of the ring, your heart pounding, your body aching from years of punishment. They chant your catchphrase. They pose when you pose. But there's no fire behind it. Just familiarity. And that's when the cheers start to feel like lies. No one talks about the trauma of falling from favor, the psychological weight of public rejection. And when it hits zero, they don't boo. They don't walk out. They cheer like they always have. Wrestlers aren't just athletes. They're addicts, addicted to the pop, the noise, the validation. Take that away, and what's left? Scars, sacrifices, empty hotel rooms, a body that doesn't heal anymore, and a head full of moments that meant everything. This is what it really means to be the face. Not the merchandise, not the smiles, not the highlight reels. It means giving all of yourself, then watching the crowd give their love to someone else. No explanation, no goodbye, just a new chant, a new flavor, a new name on the marquee. So you keep going, you keep performing. You hope the cheers come back, the real ones. But deep down, you know the truth. They won't, because wrestling doesn't have fairy tale endings. Just rotating faces on a billboard. And if you're lucky, maybe they'll remember you for how loud it used to be.